Hey everyone, welcome back to new video. In this video, we're going to perform a one of the CRUD operation in which we are going to update the data using JPA repository. Alright, cool. Let's get started. So first thing, we need to create a Springboot project and we need to add some dependencies over there. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is, so we'll open a browser over here. Okay, so here I have my browser. What we can do is, I want you guys to open Spring Initializer. So just type as, or if you have already the project, so then it's no problem. And if you're creating a project for the first time, so you can go for Spring Initializer. And here I'm in the Spring Initializer right now, so I'll just click on the Spring Initializer and you can give your the name which you want for your project, so you can define over here. So in my case, I'm doing a Java project, so that's why the language I have selected as Java, and it's not a Gradle. So Gradle, Groovy and Gradle Kotlin is used for mobile application. So right now we are doing a Maven project, so that's why the web application. So I'm selecting as Maven. All right. So now, now next. So here you need to specify your package name. So I'm going to give a package name as com.backend. So I'm not going to build an entire application. I'm just showing an operation how we can able to uh, do it. All right. So com.backend, and here I'm going to give the project name as a backend over here, and this is going to I'm going to keep it the same. And here, instead of com.backend.backend, I'm just going to keep as com.backend. That's all, very simple. All right, so now you can specify whichever you want, either jar or var, whatever you want, and select the Java which you need. And next we are going to add the dependency. I hope you guys are clear with this particular portion. And next we are going to add our dependencies. The first dependency which I'm going to add as, so just type as web. We can see Spring Web over here, web dependencies. So I'm going to select this one. Okay, Spring Web. And the second one I need is DevTools. So why DevTools? Because it doesn't require to restart the application every time whenever you make any changes in your application. So for that reason, if you can see here, there is something called live reload. So when you save the file, automatically this restarts our application. So that's why Springboot DevTools. So not related to the coding part, but this is related for the development environment or development experience, which is mentioned over here. Enhanced development experience. So I'm going to select this one. And the next one we need is JPA repository. So we are going to save the data using JPA, right? So that's why Spring Data JPA. All right. So next one we need a MySQL connector. Okay, so I'm going to take MySQL driver because we're going to connect to our database, right? So for that reason, I'm going to select this. Okay, so all our dependency is done. So the next step, what we're going to do, we'll just click on this generate. So this is going to download a zip file. Okay, this is going to download a zip file over here, and we'll extract that zip file, and then we are going to import it in our Eclipse or Spring Boot ID. So here is our backend which we downloaded just now. I'm going to extract this like this. Okay, so it's been extracted over here. So now what I'm going to do is I'll go for my Eclipse ID over here and file, or you can just click a right button here as well, anything is fine. Click on import, and here you need to search for Maven. Okay, Maven. So when you search for Maven, you will get something like this. So since the project has been initialized in a Spring Initializer itself, so that's why it is considered as an existing project, but it's a new one. So select existing Maven projects, click on next, and next will import or will select where our folder is saved. In our case, or in my case, it's saved in the download folder. I'll go to download folder over here, backend, just click on this one and select folder. All right, so here we got like something like this. So when I click on finish, if you see bottom right side, it is showing as importing Maven projects. So this will take some time, and here we can able to see our application is getting loaded. If you see, there are two folders and 1 2 3 4 4 files. When the import gets completed, you can see more number of folders and files work here. So this will take some time to download and update the project. So in the meantime, what we are going to do means we are going to create a database in the database section. Okay, so if you have already the database and the table, you can follow in your case. But if you want to create from the scratch, means you can. So I'm using MySQL Workbench work here to create a database. And if you are following with H2 database or a lightweight database, means it is going to be the same. Yes, it's all about the database connection which we are going to give in application.properties file. Okay, so here we have SQL or MySQL Workbench which is being opened right now. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to close all these files which has been already opened. So I've been using for different files over there. And next, now I'm going to create a database, a new database. So what I can do, here there is an icon directly to create a database, or what we'll do, we'll write a query for that. Okay, that is going to be very nice. So create a database, and you need to specify the database name. So as of now, I'm going to give the database name as backend. Okay, backend. All right, so run this, and here the left side you can able to see. Okay, if it is not, see here you can see it's not been created yet. So it's been created but it's not been refreshed. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'll just click a right button, refresh all. Here I can able to see my backend, and I'm going to keep it as the default. And here we have our database got created. So now we are going to create a new table over here. Let's say I'm going to create a table name. You can create any table you want, just you're trying to save the data in the database, right? If you have already your own table, you can follow with that. And yeah, that's it. So I'm going to create a table name called customer. I'm going to store the customer data inside a table. So the table name which I'm going to give here is customer. So probably it's not so visible because the icons here, it is very small. I don't know how it how I can make able to increase this, but we have a feature in YouTube or in the video. You can just zoom it and you can able to see that. All right, so customer, and so the column name. And first of all, before I pursue with this, if you are new to our channel, please subscribe it. And most of them are visiting our channel. 97% people are not subscribing it. So please do subscribe so that I'll get motivated to make a many number of videos, and I can bring a lot of content to you in the IT industry part. All right. Okay. So let's give first one. I need an ID. So which is going to be a customer ID, and this is going to be a primary key and a not, and also I'm going to give it as an auto increment. All right. So the next one, I'm going to give customer name. Customer name. Okay, so varchar, that's fine. And here the next one, I'm going to give date of birth, like this, date of birth. I hope spelling is correct. PI. Okay, even for me also it is very small. All right, the next we are going to give as a phone, and this I'm going to give it as int. And next one, after phone we'll take it as the email, and then address. And next we're going to take a username and a password. Just we'll take it. Okay, username and a password. All right, so if you're already working on a project, means there would be some different columns, but just try to map this columns with your case. All right, the main intention is we need to the data. The main intention is the data. So I'm just click on apply, and I click on apply. Okay, I'll click on finish. All right. Okay, so here, so now the first thing what I do is, first I'll insert a data inside this table. Okay, I'll insert some data. Let's say insert into customer values. Okay, no problem. So we'll add it later, or it's better to add one data over here. Okay, inside values. So first one is 1, and next we have a customer name. I'm going to give customer name as Abhinaya. The next one, date of birth, let's say 13. Oh, we need to give it in the quotes. 13 6 1999. And next we have the phone number. I'm going to give 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. The next one, we have an email ID, abhi at mail.com. And next one, we have address, Bangalore, or you can give any address you want, just sample data. Abhinaya is the username, and the password I'm going to give as 1234. All right, so here the data been stored. If I do select start from customer, you can see one data has been inserted. All right, so now our application has been imported. Right now it's been successful, and if I expand this now, you can see many folders has been created. You can, before it was only 2, so now you can see a lot more. But yes, all right, so I hope everyone is clear till here. All right, okay, good. So here the first thing what I'm going to do, I'm going to expand this source main Java folder over here, and you can able to see com.backend. All right, so I'm going to create few more packages over here. Okay, so like this, the first one is going to be just select source main Java new and go for package. So I'm going to give the package name as this has to be perfect, so this has to match for this, otherwise you will get an issue. So backend com.backend dot I'm going to give entity. Okay, so I'm going to copy this package because I want this to use it later. So entity, so entity folder or entity package where we're going to store all our models or entity. All right, so entity is done. So next one, I'm going to create one more package, com.backend.controller. All right, so where this is our main controller where we are going to create the APIs. And the next one, we are going to create a repository. Okay, so here we import a JPA repository in this particular package. And the last one, we are going to use the service where we enter it all the service, right? So that is what it is, service. All right, so I have created all the 4 packages, and the next step what we are going to do is we'll go for this application.property file. All right, so here go for source main Java, expand, click on application.properties. So here we are going to give the a backend connection over here. Okay, so we are going to give the backend connection. See, by default, or I'm using MySQL Workbench, so everything is going to be the same, and only the driver name and the driver name is going to be different, and the username and password is going to be different based on your application. Okay, so now let's do that. The first one what we are going to do is spring dot data source dot url is equal to, here the default one for MySQL Workbench. So suppose if you are using Oracle or in Microsoft or Oracle SQL Developer or H2 database, which is a lightweight database, if you are using, the driver name is different, but everything is going to be the, whatever you are seeing, spring.data source.url, that is going to be the same, just the driver name is going to be different. So suppose if you are using MySQL Workbench, which I am using right now over here, which is this one, so then you need to follow this one. Okay, so JDBC Java database connection : MySQL colon forward slash to forward slash, then local host, it is a local host, right? So local host and colon. By default, your MySQL Workbench will run at the port number 3306. So that's what it is. Localhost 3306 forward slash. Then you need to give your database name. So what was the database which we created in our MySQL Workbench? It was backend, right? So it was the backend, the same name. All right. So backend and a question mark. I'm not going to use SSL certificate, so that's why I use SSL is equal to false. So this is our driver name which you're going to give. All right, so this is a connection. Then the next one, you're going to give the MySQL Workbench username and the password. So spring dot data source, spring dot data source dot username is equal to root. In my case it is root. So next one, same spring dot data source data source dot password is equal to, in my SQL Workbench password is this one, so that's why. In your case it would be different if you have give a different password means. So this is what it is. So now the next step, we are going to start the application. So just select the backend and we need to check whether all our dependencies has been correctly installed or not. So select it, run as Java application or Springboot application. Okay, and this will take some time, we need to wait for it. See, before okay, here you need to select your backend application. So where you have backend, here I have backend application com.backend. So just click on OK. All right, so if you find any issues, we need to understand and we need to fix that. Okay, all right, so let's see. Okay, cool. So if you see here, started backend application. So what I'm going to do, and then the port number is 8080, right? So I'm going to open this com.backend application.java. Here I'm going to write one print statement which says, I mean for our convenience, so I'm writing this application cc. I'm just saying this file, I'm not going to start the application. The saved, see the bottom here in the console, it reloaded automatically. If I slide this to left side, you can able to see that printed statement which we just added. Now application started. So our application is set to get started for our coding. All right, cool. All right, so now we are going to create all the files which is required for us to build this or to complete this operation. The first one, I am going to create a customer controller. All right, so where we are going to create the API work here, customer controller. All right, so in the com.backend.controller package. All right, so customer controller is the first Java file which we are creating, and inside entity we are going to create the customer model or the entity over here. So customer, and this has to be the same name whatever your table name is in the database. All right, customer. Okay, so this has to be same name, and here we are going to use the repository where we are going to use the JPA repository. We are going to import the, or we are going to implement the JPA repository with this particular package. So here I'm going to give this customer repository. All right, so here it's got created. Oh, I just made a mistake, I'm extremely sorry. I'm going to delete this particular file. We need to create an interface. By mistake I created a Java. So select this com.backend.repository and right button and go for new, go for interface. So customer repository is the file name, just click on finish. So here a interface has been created. The next one, we are going to create a service, new and what we would need, we need a class. This is going to be customer service. All right, so just click on finish. All right, so there are few things you need to do it by default. So first one is going to be controller. Just go for the controller over here, and in the controller you need to add an annotation over here, which is at rest controller. So I'll tell you the reason why we are adding this. Just import it. Okay, so how your Springboot application or your job application is going to understand that this is a controller, and here we are going to create our APIs, how it is going to understand. So to make our Springboot application understand that this is our controller, you come here and pick the APIs. So that's why we are giving the annotation as REST controller, or you can also specify the just controller itself, that's also fine. I'm going to use a REST controller. Okay, the next one is going to be our customer.java file. Okay, so here whatever the fields we created in your database or the customer table like ID, customer name, date of birth, everything, all this we have to write it over here. Okay, so there are a few things. First one, you need to do an annotation that this is an entity. So this particular entity or the model is has to be same as in your database table, and we need to mention that this is our entity. We need to tell our Springboot application that this is our entity, take the values from here. So we need to do an annotation as entity. That's all. Done. Cool. The next one, we are going to include all the fields. The first one we had in our database was ID, so that's why it's of type integer, so int ID. Okay, next one, string, string customer name here, right? Customer name, date of birth, phone. Next we have a date of birth and phone. So string date of birth. Next we have phone, which is of type integer, phone. Next, what we have next? Email, address, username, password. So string email, string address, string username, and string password. Got it? So here whatever we have in the database columns, same way we have created all the values over here. The next thing, we need getters and setters for this. So just click a right button over here and source, go for generate getters and setters. Okay, because how you go, okay, I'll show you. So just select all, click on generate. So what does this mean is, whenever you want to set a value for an ID or whenever you want to set a value for customer name, so we don't call this particular variable, we call this method, which is set customer name. Okay, so this is how you're going to set the name for a customer name or a customer name variable. When you want to get the name, we use get customer name method. So for that's why we need getters and setters. And here if you see at the console, we are getting some errors. So that's because error creating bean with an entity manager. So that's because, see, this is an entity and it has to be some a ID and generated values. So here we have gave this as auto increment, right? The ID we have gave as auto increment while creating the table. If I'll show you here again, see here we have created an created as auto increment. So for that reason, we are going to make this as this is our ID mentioned as ID annotation, import it. The next one is generated value. So this is going to be an auto increment. So for that's why generated value strategy is equal to generation type dot identity. Okay, so here just import this, that's all. Okay, so generated type, generated value has been imported, and if I scroll down, see now you are not getting any errors at the console, right? So application started without any issues. So controller annotation is done, customer.java is done. So now we go for customer repository. All right. So the customer repository, what we are going to do is, so we're going to import the JPA repository over here. All right. So the JPA repository. So what we can do over here is just make as extends. Oh, oops. Extends JPA repository, and this will take two parameters. The first parameter I am going to give, what type of JPA repository is this? This has to be an entity of type. Which entity of type? We have created an entity type called customer. So I am performing an action for customer entity type. So that's why I'm going to give this as customer, and you'll get an error. Just hover your mouse over here like this, get an option to import it. So it's been imported, and if you see the import, it's been imported from com.backend.entity. So com.backend.entity is this one. We have customer, the customer type, and here we are going to fetch, or the unique thing over here in all this is id is going to be a primary key, and that is going to be an auto generated value and auto incremented value as well. So whenever we want to do pick the unique customer data, means we will pick with their ids. So id is of type integer, right, in the database which we have given. So that's why we're going to give an integer. So done. All right, so the repository file is also done. So now we are going to go for customer service. Okay, so the customer service, what we are going to do is very simple. Now it's very simple. So in the customer service.java, we need to specify, or we need to make our Springboot application or our Java application to understand that this is our service. Whatever the code you are going to execute, come and execute from here. So for that reason, at service, import it, done. So here we have specified all the annotations or all the functionalities which needs to be done for all the different files. So now our application, our complete application is set. So we can go ahead and do our operations. Okay. Well, all right. The operation which we are going to do now is we're going to update the customer values, right? So we are going to update the information, or we are going to update the data, right? So here we have a customer already. So we are going to pass the customer data. uh, I mean, we are going to pass the customer information which needs to be updated, and also will pass, we are going to update the customer or customer information or data based on the id. So before that, if I go to my MySQL workbench over here, our database is backend, right? So here if we see the table, we have a customer and we have two data over here, Abhinaya and Vasu, right? We have two data over here, right? So now we already have a data, so we'll try to modify these data based on its id. Okay, so now I'll go to my code. The first thing, I'm going to write a method over here. All right, so public, I'm not going to return anything, so that's why I'm going to keep as a void public void update customer. All right, so we are going to pass the updated customer information. So updated customer information is the object of a customer, let's say updated data. Okay, updated data. So this is a customer entity. Okay, and this is the object of this. So let's say updated customer data, we'll keep it like this, that it is a very meaningful here. All right, So here we have, and also we're going to take a one more argument over here, which is going to be an ID. So we're going to pass the customer ID over here. Based on the customer ID, we're going to update the customer data. All right. Now the first thing, so we need to check whether that customer is exist in our database or not. So for that, what I am going to do is, the first thing, we are implementing via JPA, right? So customer repository. Okay, so I'm going to create an object of this. So customer repository. All right, customer repository, then object over here. The object name I'm going to give as, let's say, customer repo over here, and I'll make this as a private. Okay, and also I'm going to add annotation over here as auto wire. So auto wire in the sense, so we are going to connect via service, I mean to our repository and to a service, right? So that's why it would be connected like a wire, so that we can auto wire, right? So I'm going to import this here, the customer repository, which error, right, is done. So now, as of now, we don't have any errors. So as I said, so we need to check whether that customer is present in our database or not. So using customer repository object dot, we have an inbuilt function in JPA repository. So find all. Okay, I am going to find that whether this customer is present in the database or, so customer repo dot find all, or find by ID. We are going to pass the ID over here. All right, so the ID will get from the argument or the parameter over here. So dot dot, or else if the customer is not present, we are going to return as null over here. All right, so now I'm going to create an object of a customer, and the object name is existing customer. Okay, or existing data, whatever you say, customer. Okay, so here, oh sorry, it's taken as find all by ID. It's not find all by ID, it's find by ID. Okay, so here we are going to get the customer data. That data we are storing in an existing customer. So if the customer is present, we'll get the data. If customer is not present, it will save this object as null. That's all it is. So now we are going to check this. If the exist customer is not null, means if it is a not null, means obviously there is a data inside existing customer object, right? So if it is not null, what we are going to do means, we are going to pick all the data which is already present over here, and we are going to replace with the updated data, right? Understanding? So existing customer dot, the first thing we have, set. I'm going to set the customer, or let's take it as address in otherwise address. So we are going to update with the updated data. So updated customer data dot get address. Understanding? So from this object we are getting the data, and for this object we are setting it again. That's what it is. Understanding? Cool. That's cool. All right. So the next one, next, same way, existing customer dot set customer name, updated customer data dot get customer, right? Same manner and everything. Existing customer dot set date of birth, and updated customer data dot get date of birth, right? Yes. Next one, have same way, existing customer dot set email, and updated customer data dot get get email. Okay, so existing, again, existing customer dot set. What we have next, we have id. So id we are not going to update, so we'll update the password if password is also an parameter. Okay, so updated customer dot get password, right? Good. Last one, I guess it's the last one. This in customer dot set, we have two more. One is phone number, updated customer dot get phone. Done. The last one, existing customer dot set. Set phone is done. Using the last one, updated customer data dot get the name. Done. So we got all the updated data and we have saved it into the custom data. So now we want this data to reflect in our database, right? Correct. So for that, what we need to do, very simple. So customer repo dot save. Okay, inside this we are going to pass the existing data, this object which has been updated based on the updated data. So we're going to pass this, and that's it. And if it is done, so we'll write one print statement over here saying data, or let's say customer data, has been updated. Okay, good. So now what is the next thing? We are going to write the controller class. Okay, so in the controller, first we are going to create an object of the customer service, right? So like this, private customer service. Okay, so object name you can give anything, so I'm going to give customer service. C is smaller case as you see, and I'll hold my mouse and I'll import this. Yes, imported. So let's do this with auto wire. Done. The next thing which we need is we're going to create a method is going to, or we are going to create an API. For that API we need to create a method. So public void, let's say update customer. So this particular method is expecting one object to be sent and also expecting one integer, right? ID. All right. So now what I'm going to give like this, request from the body. We need customer data. So customer updated customer. Okay. From the request body, we are expecting a data to send which is of type customer entity. Okay, so here we got the first one. Next thing, we need an ID. So ID we're going to take it from the path. That's why at path variable int say ID. Let's import this as well, and done. Okay, now from the customer service object we are going to call that updated method. What's our updated method? Update customer, and this data and this ID we are passing in. Okay, so this will be passing via postman, and this we are going to pass it via API or our URL, whatever you say. So when it's an update, need to use put mapping, and API name which I'm going to give as update. Okay, good. Let's hover mouse and import this as well. So everything is set and we don't have any errors. So let's start our application over here, and let me open my postman. I'll go to the body, raw, I'll make it as JSON, and this is the data I have already. So again, 36 phone number at mail, Bangalore, Abhinay. Same thing. Here it is different. See, here the mail ID is ABI, but here the mail ID is Abhinaya. Got it? So this is what we are updating over here. The next one, the date of birth is correct, everything is correct. Also, the phone number, where is the phone number? Okay, the phone number object is missing, so let me add that. Phone colon 456. So if you see here, phone number is 1234567 but I am giving the updated number as, oh, I'm sorry, the phone is on. So here 1234556. So but in the database we already have the data as 1234567 right? Now let me go to the postman. Let's say application got started. So here we got the message as application started. So go to here and we need our URL, right? Correct? Say let's say browser over here so that don't make mistakes. Post trying to take that HTTP. That's fine. Alright. So here is our URL and the API name is we have given as update customer. So let me copy and paste it update customer. And here we are going to pass the ID. So just like here. Oh, we need to pass an argument here, right? So forward slash ID. Okay. So whatever the value which we are going to give over here, that will the same ID we are going to pass it. Okay, good. So let's run it. So before that, we check the ID. So the ID of Abhinaya customer is 1. So that's why I have given as 1. Let me send it. Okay, so we got an error. Got an error. The reason because here the request method I mentioned did not change it to put, still get. So that's why let me make it to put. So when you're updating, it has to be a put and send it. Done. We don't have any issues over here. Let's see the console. So in the console we can see the customer data has been updated without any issues. So now a last check. Select star from customer. You see, let me run it. The phone number got changed from 1234567 to 1234556. The email got changed from Abhinaya from Abhinaya, right? So do you want to change the data of the second customer? Yes, we'll do that. So the customer ID is 3. Let me change the values over here. Some values. Say I'm just keeping the customer name as same. Rest everything I'm going to update it. If you see the data over here, date of birth is something. Phone number is 1234 and email ID is vasumsv@gmail.com. The address, the name is vasumsv. I'm going to update everything, but I'm correct. Okay, yeah, this is all the data I'm updating over here for the customer ID, which is Vasu. So let me send it, right? So in the console we can see here one more message, customer data has been updated. And if you go to the database, if you run the select customer, you can see the Vasu data has changed, is exactly same like Abhinay. Got it? So if you see the already also been updated on the address, so which means whatever the code we had written, it's working fine. I hope you guys understood how you can able to update the customer in JPA repository. If you did, please do like this video. If you're new to our channel, and right, so let's meet in our next video. Until then, take care, goodbye.